Today's episode of the Cantina is brought to you by Grow Generation. Whether you're at the Death Star or the Senate, they have everything you need to grow right where you are. More from them later in the episode.
Welcome to a galaxy far, far away. Here at the Cantina Podcast, we provide top shelf service, including rumors, leaks, news, and reviews. Come in, order a Loman Ale, and remember, no droids allowed.
And thank you guys. I apparently still have the damn picture in front of us because I can't find the thing, and there we go. Now we're all set, guys. Hello, welcome to the Cantina. I am Kyle Malone here on the Genreverse Podcast Network, brought to you by LRM Online, joined as usually by Cam Clark and Shockey. And guys, please do subscribe or follow the Genreverse Podcast Network either on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Check out the websites, lrmonline.com, genreverse.com as well. And yeah, a bunch of social media information's down below, and we're here to talk about the Book of Boba Fett, episode 6, and toot our own horns because, well, no one else is going to toot it for us. So, Shockey, man, let's go ahead and let you kind of just kick off this initial reaction, and maybe even talk a bit about the path to Cad Bane. You know the Clone Wars and stuff a lot better than I do.
This episode was definitely a shock and surprise. I thought last week was going to probably be the kind of the only episode we were going to see of Din Djarin and kind of move on into the Boba Fett story, but was I wrong? And it kind of now explains why when we were reporting that Mandalorian season 3 was filming, and then there was conflicting reports saying that Boba Fett was still filming. And from what I knew from my sources is that it was basically the cast of Mandalorian filming. So it does make sense, that what we were reporting, it just, who knows, like on all the way that the show's going, I no clue what to expect for the last episode. We may not even see Boba Fett for the last episode for his own show. Who knows? But no, great episode overall. Social media is going crazy over it. We've got the return of Luke Skywalker. We got the return of Grogu. Surprise showing of Ahsoka. Mando again. Cobb Vanth. And then, of course, Cad Bane, the ultimate bounty hunter, finally makes his appearance. And I think in all of Star Wars, that has to go down as the best intro for a character. I mean, you're talking about old school Wild West theme, just cowboys, walking in the desert, no horse, nothing, just has the coat, the hat, everything about him was just on point. One of the best makeup and costume designs I've seen, from going from animation to live action. The voice was on point, everything. The scene itself, while I think it was timed out at 2 minutes and like 3 seconds of Cad Bane, that 2 minutes and 3 seconds the entire time, it's you're in awe. And the scene between him and Cobb Vanth,
very little dialogue. Exactly from a Western feel.
And then just like a Western, you have the dumbass deputy trying to be the hero and stuff, and then gets killed. And I loved it. Like, Cad Bane takes care of Cobb Vanth with one shot, but he makes sure to blast away on the deputy for trying to think that he's better than Cad and stuff. And it just overall, like, this was an amazing story. My only downside to it is that we only see Boba for 30 seconds. Cad Bane has more lines. Every character has more lines than Boba Fett in his own show. And, as much as I enjoyed this, it's kind of like, wait a minute, or like, that's where I get confused on everything with this show, is that, was this added on later when they kind of saw everything and they're like, we need something to spice this up? do we add that on there? So I'm not sure, but yeah, that's my only gripe is I wish, I know that the story of Boba Fett was kind of dragging, but I want to see where this is going, and not, when we watch Mando and Mandalorian, we know where Mando is going. So, but overall, great episode.
Nice. I agree. It was one of the weird things, just kind of dealing with, where is who we thought we were going to be watching. And I'll apologize to everyone. My main camera went down for some reason. I don't know what's up. So I got my little crappy webcam right now. But
I can just see an orange screen when you're talking.
I had to turn off the webcam to Zoom so I could bring it into OBS so I would be on screen, because I was like looking down and I was like, why am I
That's
still
okay. I don't
down?
want to see you anyway.
Yeah, nobody wants to see me anyhow. Cam, man, what you think? You love this, and you can feel free to talk about the other characters that showed up, of course, as well as Cad Bane and whatnot.
I'll just start off with what I put in my review, which is quite a bold statement, right? But this will maybe kind of tell you where I'm coming from. To me, that was the best. It says 47 minutes. Take away the credits. I don't know, maybe 42 minutes of Star Wars that has been done in live action since Return of the Jedi in 1983. There you go.
That's big stit. Yeah. Why is that? Like,
because
what
there's just so much in it. There's not a lot of action in the episode. It doesn't matter. It's drama. It's seeds that have been sown for years coming together in certain ways. Like Ahsoka turning up and being with Luke. We all would wonder, would Ahsoka ever meet Luke, and what would happen if they do? And it's the subtlety of the writing here as well. In one line, Ahsoka says, you're just like your father, and in that line, they've already had a conversation. He's explained everything that happened with who he is, everything that's happened, with his dad, the redemption, everything, that Ahsoka doesn't know any of that. And she knows that her old master, Anakin, redeemed himself, went back to the light side at the end, helped defeat the Sith ultimately. That's huge stuff for Ahsoka. And I almost kind of feel like in Ahsoka itself, whether it's set further back or further ahead, I'm not sure, but that we might actually get as a flashback them meeting, so that we actually get to see them having a conversation, because that would be absolutely fantastic. But in some ways, you just don't need it as well, because that line just told you everything that you needed to know. The Luke looked fantastic compared to how he looked in The Mandalorian. Better. I mean, he was in it so much. I mean, such a big part of this episode that if it didn't look right, it might not have worked. But it did work. It absolutely did work. And it just felt like you were watching, a Luke Skywalker post Return of the Jedi, literally training Grogu, talking about the Force. And that's before we even get to sort of Cad Bane, which obviously is kind of setting up the end. But Cobb Vanth, the kind of cold open with Cobb Vanth and the Pikes, that was cool as shit as well. Just the whole thing, the way that they kind of built it up was absolutely fantastic. And yeah, there's not much Boba Fett in it. There's, both him, Fennec Shand are in it for, like, as Mike said, maybe 30 seconds.
Yep.
It just, okay, fair enough. It's not really the Book of Boba Fett, but I'm still going to remember Book of Boba Fett episode 6 was a fucking absolutely amazing episode. It doesn't matter if it says Book of Boba Fett on it. What it was fucking vintage Star Wars. The way they put it all together was just brilliant.
Yeah, I agree. But stop looking at it. It annoys me. I can see my wife is staring at me off camera, just like, stop messing with the things. And it bugs me. Production value. My production value is not great, but what is there, I want to take care of. Damn it. Yeah, no, I agree. I had a few minor issues, and damn it, see, there it goes again, messing around, guys. I'm so sorry about the cameras this time, ladies and gentlemen. But anyways, it's kind of frustrating dealing with it not being Boba Fett, and like Mike said, just kind of start wondering about filming and all the things that went on behind it. I wondered, you know, we had heard various rumors about the Boba Fett movie, and KK tries to say that Kathleen Kennedy, for those that might not know the shorthand, tried to say that, hey, look, it really wasn't that far along. However, I kind of get the feeling that maybe there was a basic story, and that some of this may have come from it, and that's why it's so light. Did they bring Filoni and crew on and you know, bring Robert Rodriguez in fairly early on to spruce it up and stuff? Sure, but I can't point to COVID protocols as being the only reason for episodes 1 through 4 having so much that you could cut, and then 2 episodes with no Fett, and then all of a sudden, you know, we're gonna go into episode 7. It is great as it was. It's confusing at least, right? Can we at least agree to that?
I would agree it's confusing, but I think here's the situation that you find yourself in. So Favreau, Rodriguez, Filoni, they write a story, and maybe at one point it was Mandalorian season 3, and they realise they're putting a shit ton of Boba Fett backstory in it, and think, well, we need to explain this. I want to show this. I really want to get into this. Yeah. Possibly. And then they realise, well, okay, so, you know, are people going to accept that the Mandalorian season 3 starts with 4 episodes of Boba Fett, or maybe it wasn't 4 episodes at that point, but you know what I mean? Especially considering people were genuinely worried at the end of Mandalorian season 2 that Din Djarin would just disappear and that it would be focused completely on Boba Fett. So if you'd started the Mandalorian season 3 with that, I mean, who knows? But I think if that is the case, obviously, clearly, those discussions would have been had long before the fans got a chance to react to it, because we saw the Book of Boba Fett message at the end of the series. But I just wonder whether, as they were kind of developing what would come next, whether they found themselves in a position of saying, well, what do we call it? The Mando epilogue or prologue or something like that? Yeah. What do we do with this show? Because it's kind of in between. And they just went, well, let's call it Boba Fett, but we'll just have this bit in the middle. And then my guess is they'll bookend it by everything coming together on Tatooine, Fett and, you know, Shan being far more involved next week again. And they thought, you know, that's the best idea to kind of sandwich it in like this, because where they're starting Mando season 3, we need to know all this information before that going in. So I think, you know, sometimes it then comes back to, right, does this work? Do we just rewrite the script completely, you know? And it just, maybe it just didn't work for them, and what they wanted was what we got. So yeah, does it make for a slightly disjointed series? Yeah, I think there'll be certainly some critics that will say, we didn't like the Boba Fett stuff, but we don't like this because it's not Boba Fett now. You know, absolutely accept that. And I kind of like the Boba Fett stuff in the first 4 episodes. You know, some of it wasn't fantastic, but I like that it feels like we're seeing just the start of a story involving all these people, and we were told this is all going to connect together. You know, so Boba Fett could show up again in Mando or Luke could show up again in Ahsoka, but ultimately we're building a story that's kind of telling that this whole kind of, it's almost like a new EU that you would have read, the post what happens Return of the Jedi to all these characters. I mean, it's possible they could even bring in some of the other guys, you know, like Lando, potentially, considering they're talking about a Lando show. There's a lot of things that they, you know, could do with this sort of stuff. And, you know, ultimately, I think all you can do is rate the episode from start to finish. It's like the same argument we had last week. Do we take points off for the fact that it didn't really feature Boba Fett? And you kind of feel guilty doing that, because you think, but the episode was fantastic. Yeah. This week, arguably, in my opinion, was even better. You know, I'm not going to say, it was great, but should have had more Boba Fett in it, because I loved every second of it from fucking start to finish. So, all you can do is be honest with that. It was, absolutely what I'm looking for in Star Wars. There was lore in it. There was discussions of the Force. And, I think as well, one thing maybe slightly, I wouldn't say disappointed me, but, it kind of sticks in my craw a little bit, because we know we've got the sequel trilogy, and we know that sequel trilogy is canon, that they're kind of having Luke go down some of the wrong paths that the previous Jedi did here as well, so he's like making Grogu choose between attachment and being a Jedi. And ultimately
you have so much of your father in you.
I know, but it's a bit of a misnomer almost from Luke's point of view. Like, Anakin's attachment, yes, led him to the dark side, but it's also what brought him back. And that point keeps getting missed out. And it almost feels like, because we now need to have Rey take the new Jedi Order forward, where it's not quite the same dogmatic as it was before. The books have all been, she's not interested in them, all that sort of stuff. And it kind of feels like what we should have had was Luke explore with Grogu that you don't need to be as dogmatic as that. I mean, maybe that will come. Maybe these are discussions that will happen with these characters as we go on. I don't know. But at the moment, it's the only thing that kind of sticks in my craw a little bit. But I kind of understand that that's them developing the way Luke's character goes. He kind of becomes a failure in terms of a teacher, and we're kind of maybe seeing the seeds of that here, which is absolutely fine from a storytelling point of view.
But potentially, Luke did go through a growth phase in the EU, from the living force to the unifying force, and several philosophies in between,
and he had some students
and after.
Go bad as well.
Yeah, as well. Mike, did you want to carry on with anything about Fett not being a big part of this, or did you say your piece before we carry on with Luke?
I kind of
Excuse me.
Talking to some of the guys that have a little bit more in know. Remember, this is a Game of Thrones universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a different style of telling the story. So HBO Game of Thrones was one show, but told 4 or 5 different stories in there,
Right.
with all the different families. So this is the same concept, but instead of having one show tell 4 or 5 stories at one time, we have 4 or 5 shows telling a story that they're all interconnected. And the connection, what we think is going to be, is the Darksaber. Mm-hmm. So you can see that Din Djarin has it right now. But could, Boba Fett continue growing in his syndicate that he wants to claim, the power to the Darksaber in Mandalore? Then you have Bo-Katan sitting off that we haven't even seen that we all know wants it. And so the Darksaber is in symmetrical terms, is similar to the Iron Throne, where I think we're building this up so that we're establishing the key pieces of where everyone's at to see who's fighting for the Darksaber. That's where I think like the flow of Book of Boba Fett is kind of where we're like most fans are lost, because remember, even Jon Favreau said he loved the idea of Game of Thrones. He wanted to recreate it for Star Wars. So instead of doing one show, we're doing multiple shows and telling this kind of singular story. So we're all over the place. And I think that's where we kind of get lost sometimes, or it's just new for us. If
it hadn't been 2 episodes, and if Fett had more in those 2, it's so. I get what you're saying, and connective tissue, I would expect and thoroughly have enjoyed it, but that wasn't just connective tissue. That was, especially last episode, was a completely different show.
I mean, in a sense, yes, but it's so. I think what we're doing is, or what Favreau's doing is telling the singular story. So would it make more sense to you if we did the entire Boba Fett story where we see Fennec say, "Hey, I know a guy that can fight for us." Then next episode, Din Djarin shows up and ready to
we
fight.
Don't know why.
We don't know. And then Mando season 3 starts up, and then
that's exactly what I thought. We're backstory back, and we're flashbacking all the time to what happened before. That's what I thought. Maybe they had that thought and thought it's not the best idea to do that.
Mm-hmm. But they should have pieced it together better, because
it's just this is the first
so do you
time
mean,
I've seen.
Sorry, that you would cut, like, let's say the last episode, cut it between some of the stuff in the previous episodes so that you're starting to build it in.
Yes.
Would that have made 2 average episodes instead of 1 amazing episode?
But it would still make it more of a I don't know, is the word contiguous or a more
it would
put
be an easier to follow
Book of Boba Fett show that is connected to
then
the grander Mandalorian
try and
series.
think of it like a book, right? So in a book, you would read maybe 3 chapters, all from Boba Fett's point of view. Then suddenly you go into chapter 5, and it's from a completely different character's point of view.
Like
You've never met them
Thrones,
before.
So
in this instance, it goes to Mando. Then it goes back to a Boba Fett chapter. I think that I get it might not be everybody's cup of tea. I get that. But I think that's what they're trying to do, and I think we just need to see how it plays out.
Right. If they go back, and in the Mandalorian season 3, we see a whole episode or 3/4 of an episode dedicated to someone besides Mando, connected to this story. Okay, maybe, but what this really reminds me of in comic book terms, okay, we got a big crossover event, right? Let's call it Civil War, and in Civil War you had 5 issues of Civil War, right? That included all the big moments, but then you had all the side stories of Civil War with Avengers, Civil War with Iron Man, Civil War, Spider-Man, and all these
individual ones that led up to it and then fell off it.
And the big crossover books, they touch on everything just a little bit, and then your main stories happened in those individual Civil War Spider-Man, Civil War Iron Man, whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
This was supposed to be the big Mandalorian verse crossover event, Book of Boba Fett. This was supposed to be Mando verse Book of Boba Fett, but it seems like it felt they shoved in Mando verse the Mandalorian into his. Do you see what I'm? That's what it feels like.
Let me ask you this:
I get what you're saying, but it just doesn't bother me.
If you go back and rename it and say, instead of calling it Mando season 1, Mando season 2, Book of Boba Fett, you just call it, say, Darksaber.
Yes,
and just start from there.
It is literally the way it's being.
Just book 1, book 2, book 3.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what I think you have to look at it as. I think so.
I know, but I can't separate another fucking Disney mistake on editing and marketing and titling, and it's frustrating.
But it might be frustrating, Kel, but they didn't know if Mandalorian was going to be hit, and they didn't have it all worked out. You know, they had season 1 worked out, you know, and maybe a little bit of where they were going to go after that. I mean, I doubt that they've now they've got an end game in mind, you know, but they probably don't have it written. They've just got, well, roughly this needs to happen, this person needs to be there. How are we going to get them there, and how do we make it interesting, you know? And that's how you build a story, where you have a rough outline, but you don't have it written. So, you know, one
season 2 wasn't even greenlit.
The Mandalorian actually is a good enough name that this could have been called The Mandalorian season 3, because it's still focused on a Mandalorian. It's still about everything that's going on with Din Djarin and the Darksaber and, you know, all of that sort of stuff. But
hey, like I said, if they go on and they make it kind of like this thing where it blurs a lot more, then it'll feel better later. But right now it's jarring, and it has me questioning again, like I pointed out, Disney decisions, whether that's writing, editing, marketing, the packaging, if you will, on how they're selling it to people. It makes me wonder more about how much cohesion there is in that team.
I mean, I struggle with that one, Kyle, because after watching an episode this good from Star Wars, when Star Wars has been so bad for so long, I mean,
hit or miss.
We can't really be talking, but the
Oh, this
TV
isn't
stuff has been
hating
more
the
hit
episode.
than miss. You know,
It's not, and it's not me hating on the episode. I loved it.
I just don't want us to see us when we should be celebrating how amazing it was. I mean, it depends on your own opinion. Don't get me wrong, but it seems as if you like it, and we're kind of.
Well, the topic for the last 14 minutes was the no Fett issue, and we'll get to some wonderful positive stuff.
I know. I'm not trying to kind of.
It's all right.
I just feel like you know, it's fine. We absolutely need to talk about it, but when we were getting into, you know, questioning the decisions of them, I think we have to just kind of maybe give them a bit of praise and see how it goes for a little bit. First of all, because
I've got a lot of praise last year too for.
I mean, I've been on their back so often, Lucasfilm. I mean, that sequel trilogy was just trash, and I pounded it into the ground. You know, I wasn't happy with the prequels either. You know, it's just been ongoing. So when we get something where, you know, it's kind of sit up and take notice of this. This is really, really good. I think we just have to say sometimes well done. But yeah, it's strange that it's a Boba Fett show and this is happening, but I'm glad they did it.
You have to remember, like, this is a Filoni style of storytelling. If you watched Clone Wars, it's very similar. You get 3 or 4 episodes of just kind of like, where is this going? And then boom, you get hit with something amazing. Like the last season of the Clone Wars, right? It was 7 episodes for the last season. The first 4 episodes with Ahsoka on Coruscant, you know, with her, you know, friends that she met and dealing with the Pikes, you're like, where the hell is this leading to? Then all of a sudden we get thrown in the last 3 episodes and we get to find out what happens with Order 66 on the back end with her.
Siege of Mandalore.
You know, it was just like, oh my God. We get Siege of Mandalore and everything. So like, that is Filoni style. He's going to lull you to sleep in the beginning and like drop these little things like, here's where it's leading to. And then boom. All right. Now, I think this episode is going, and it's kind of been teased, and if this finale is not up here with episodes 5 and 6, then shame on, you know, Disney, on Filoni, on Robert Rodriguez hyping this up, on even Ming Noir to say this ending is going to be just going to blow you away, and you're going to think, you know, differently of how you watch it, you know. And so the one constant always with this is Filoni just sits there and it's like, yeah, this is how I always originally planned this show out and stuff. And you guys are the ones who you know, look too much into things. And it's, in all honesty, it's true. Filoni.
Well, I mean, we do.
Yeah,
Star Wars, we're passionate about it. That's why we're here. So. You know.
Well, there's also patterns of behavior for companies that we could pay attention to. But we'll get off Boba Fett and Dave Filoni's ass and get on to Luke Skywalker's ass some more after a word from our sponsors over at Grow Generation.
Grow Generation, where the pros go to grow. From propagation to harvest, they have everything you need for your special garden. Grow Generation serves customers across the nation and carries a wide inventory of renowned cultivation brands. Go to www.growgeneration.com. where the pros go.
It's amazing how we used to do this just podcast, but it's amazing how you get used to seeing someone's reactions, you know.
Yes, and now you guys can't see my face, and it's kind of
when you
want
to jump in, or, when you've jumped in and somebody at the wrong time. But
so sorry about that. I felt the audience being able to see me was more important.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Thanks. Grow Generation for sponsoring the episode, and I almost kind of like coming into after the ads with a kind of like a cold reopen. So you know, it's funny. I ruined this. I want to show you guys. I did the whole reaction. There's a reaction video to Cad Bane, which we'll talk about after the Luke and Jedi stuff. But I ruined this show for myself multiple times. I was like, when I saw the preview, I was like, okay, so more Mando stuff. I guess we are going to see Grogu. Does that mean we're going to see Luke again? Ta-da! There's Luke, fucking Grogu. And then there was I said something about something about the bomb before the bomb went off. And there was another thing. Like, I just kept ruining the show.
That was so
myself.
obvious that was a bomb, but it didn't matter that it was so obvious that it was a bomb because it was well done. But I know.
Yeah, it was just fun. Like, is this gonna?
I mean, Jordan
Mason
said last week, and Jordan Mason said last week in his review, which I covered. About maybe hints of Grogu being it next week. I've heard he is, and I've also heard Lipsback as well, and we covered that. So I kind of feel like that one had leaked out, but that I wasn't. But the thing is, even though I did expect to see Luke this week, because I know Jordan does know his stuff, I didn't expect it to be that much. And focused almost on him, and really focused on Grogu as a character, didn't it? And what goes on about him.
And it really was the. It was uncanny. There's times where I'm like, is that did they recast? No, it's CGI. No, they recast.
Remember when they did it on Mando? Some guy, amateur, came along and improved it.
Yes,
Lucas film prior him.
That's what they hired him for. Yeah,
and he this is a product of his work, and it is much better.
And it looked really good because at first I was like, it really did look like a potential recast. The melding was a lot better. The mouth was better. All of it was really
it's kind of almost like, because it's not real, you're still looking for the imperfections. But if you weren't looking for them, if it was a character that you didn't know wasn't that age, couldn't possibly look like that, I don't think you would have noticed. You'd have really had to look closely to notice it. Something was off with that guy. And that's impressive in itself.
Exactly. So it really wasn't, while I was shocked because I knew the rumor, but I just didn't know how much, how if it would actually end up being 100%, if it would be like that long distance shot. Like that's what I kind of thought we'd see him training someone from a distance. But dude, it was. I'd said in my reaction that it was having so much nostalgia has almost kind of made some of it less weighty. What I loved, oh my God, what is he doing? Oh, sorry, it just loud crash noise in the house. Kids going to the bathroom. He's 8, so everything's loud with him. And I was like, you'll never. I said this when we saw him in Mando's season 2 at the end. I was like, we will never ever get that again. That's the last Luke Skywalker reveal that will ever matter. And I think this episode proved. I loved every inch. I'm not taking any. It's not a negative statement. It's just like, it was like, okay, he's here. It did show that they could potentially do a live action thing with more Luke.
They could.
However,
very expensive.
It would be
very expensive, and the ADR is eventually going to wear on it, and actors want facial and vocal recognition. Usually, there's a lot of things that go into it being a long-term thing. Animation wise, I'm still on board for it. I loved seeing R2. I liked Ahsoka and all of that. It's nice for it to feel like part of the Star Wars universe again, like the EU. This felt very EU-ish.
Yeah, that's
because Luke was just a part of it. He wasn't the focus of it. Even though he was there, he wasn't the main focus. And I really appreciated. It's like, in an
RPG game, Luke's a vendor. He's a side quest somewhere, but he's not the main. The Star Wars movies were about him. This isn't his story. But he's there, and he has like gravity. He has an effect on what happens to everyone else. Does anybody think he'll show up? Like, he'll bring maybe Grogu back to Tatooine last week, and he'll be there. He can give a hand to the final battle.
I would hope not. I don't think so, unless Grogu decides to go back.
That would kind of
Mando.
tip the odds a little bit more in Boba Fett's favor.
Grogu flies in on a little miniature Naboo 1 starfighter.
God. I do agree, Cam, that they kind of pigeonholed themselves story-wise, with Luke having to still be on that path to grumpy. I think maybe he might even be starting too early. Could we have gotten an altruistic, let me try to do things differently, Luke, and that fails, and then he goes back to the old ways?
Maybe you could have done that.
Who knows?
I mean, and given that we don't know if this is maybe just, as I said earlier on, maybe this is the start of him exploding these things with Ahsoka and
the
and
first
others. And,
student. Yep. So I'm completely open to what they do, but there is that threat of potentially pigeonholing Luke, and we know that there are some in that have written stories for Star Wars, especially in the novels. They're not always the biggest fan of Luke Skywalker for some reason, but I dug it. I like the Ahsoka interactions. I appreciated Din making a good choice, and I like this setup with Grogu. You know, what are you going to choose at the end? So I think I went with
what was he going to choose? Let's all give a, things on that. What's going to happen?
How about we do that after we go around and get you guys' points?
Sure.
Well, no, I'll tell you what. Go ahead and do that. What do you think, Cam? What do you think he's going to choose?
I kind of here's my reasoning, right? So the Mando's new ship's got that ready-made Grogu pod in it. That ain't there for nothing, right? We all know that. Grogu is a really popular character. It would make sense to put him back with Mando again. Equally, why bring back the Yoda lightsaber if you're not going to use it? So I'm kind of completely torn that I'm wondering,
This is why I said we should talk first before saying.
Well,
go ahead.
There you go. But this is the stuff people are interested in. Not our crappy grades.
I meant talk more about Luke and Grogu before we decided a guest on his choice. But keep going.
We've started now.
Yeah, exactly. We're good. Go.
It's really hard to kind of. I almost think a both scenario, like where he picks a lightsaber but he gives him. Oh, and by the way, just kudos to me, chainmail. I used to say.
Oh yeah, you did. I thought of you when I saw it.
Yep. Chainmail.
I did too.
Although I don't know how he's going to put it on because they didn't put like a head hole big enough for like. How does he get it on? Because you can't put it on like a regular shirt and stuff.
Maybe he puts it on
zipper in the back.
Have you ever messed with chainmail? So a single layer like that's got some flexibility because of the way the rings naturally move.
Big ass head in the ears that he's got going on.
His ears are soft. I'm sure his ears. Maybe he just tilts it sideways.
It'll be fine. They put it on in wardrobe when we're not looking, and he's just got it on. It's cool.
It's in the script.
Yeah,
it's in the script.
But yeah, there's my thoughts. I'm kind of in between, but I think he has to go back with Mando. But I can't see him. I'll choose the chainmail after choosing to go. We'll look at first. I'm kind of unsure. I'm really confused. Shocky, what do you think?
Yeah,
I think he chooses the chainmail, and why is because of the reopening of his memory and seeing all the Jedi being killed in front of him, the clone troopers. I think that going the path of the Jedi, which he was on the path already as a young Padawan, it brings back that horror. Like, I don't want to deal with that anymore. And so I'm going to go with this guy who, I know what I'm getting with in this and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's a very similar story to Anakin. So in this situation, Grogu has a choice. Does he choose his attachment of Din Djarin, or does he choose the path of the Jedi? For Anakin, it was chosen for him. You got to remember, like, when he was a kid, he fell in love with Padme first before even thinking about being a Jedi, right? He asked, "Oh my gosh, you're an angel," and stuff. And so his attachment for Padme, lame.
His mum's pushing him to go because she lives a terrible life where she's a slave as well.
Yeah, and so, but he's attached to Padme first. And then the opportunity comes to become a Jedi, and he takes it as, well, if I can go with her, then yeah, sure, I'm going to do it that way. And unfortunately, you can't have it both sides, where Obi-Wan is that, the one that stays true to the Jedi path, where he forgoes all his attachments. He doesn't make that decision, to stay, what's her name? Oh my gosh. Bo-Katan's sister.
Oh,
Can't
I
think.
was going to say it 2 seconds
I
ago,
don't
and
know.
you forgetting it made me forget of it.
Boom! I can't think of
I
it.
don't care.
Cru-
I'm joking.
It's with a K.
Satine.
Yeah, Satine. There we go. So Satine, and you there's always that classic line in the Clone Wars where he sells Satine. If you would just
Oh my God.
Satine, if you had just
Sorry.
said so, I would have left the Jedi Order. And so you get Obi-Wan's path,
Yeah.
who stays true, Anakin, who tries to balance both but can't, and then you're gonna see Grogu on the path of saying, "Peace out, Jedi Order. I'm going, with this guy over here with the shiny
if
helmet."
that's the way it goes, does that potentially put Grogu as a future wielder of the Darksaber? Because it's too big for him, right? He
Potentially.
couldn't wield a real
He could.
lightsaber that big.
I don't see him
It
doing
would
that.
look daft for a start, but
They
put it
did,
this
but
way: see if
him
he
being a
chooses
force
to go
wielder-
with, if he chooses to go with Mando, we'll give him the lightsaber anyway and say, well, there you go.
It could. Yeah.
May-
Honestly,
maybe.
could, because there's.
Who else
But it
is
gives
gonna
it
use
gives a clean slate to. It gives a clean slate for Luke too if Grogu leaves, because if Grogu stays, then there's a lot more story to what the hell happened, to
What
Grogu and
If Luke
when
comes with them and then sees Mando using the Darksaber and says, why don't the two of yous come back with me for some training, and we start Mando season 3 with him training Mando how to use the Darksaber. I mean, there's
Could
another
be.
possibility. I'm not saying that's the way I would go, but it's a possibility.
They did make a point with Ahsoka's line of, Mandalorian foundling. What if he's a Padawan now? So,
right.
And of course, that's to foreshadow the choice in the future. But you get that idea of that the Darksaber, like you said, all you got to do is win it in combat. The Mandalorian aspect of it's kind of debatable, as we're finding out about the different sects of Mandalorian beliefs and culture. So you could see that. I don't. That's a long game. He's going to take a while to age up. We don't know if he hits like a sudden growth spurt where it's
we
okay,
talked about that
this year's
previously
100
in
years
season
worth
2,
of
didn't we?
human life, but we don't know.
He could hit a puberty stage where he ages faster, starts talking. I don't know.
I think at the end of the day, Cam, it goes to what you said. He's incredibly popular, and they want him on screen. So I agree. I think he goes with Mando. So I don't necessarily think that's the best for the story. I mentioned that last week. Like, I would love to see him on his own. We could go back to Grogu and sell toys elseways, but
then I suppose you'd need to keep cutting to Luke all the time.
Well, the animated show and stuff is what I was thinking to keep Grogu in the public eye. And let's face it, cartoon Grogu would sell like fucking hotcakes. So, but I do think that money and popularity is playing a big factor in it, and that he'll stick around more in Mandalorian. We'll have to see how great that is for the story. But Cam, what else did you think about Luke himself now that we're done with Grogu, I guess?
I mean, I've just thought they got the character right, of the way it was just like kind of post Jedi Luke, really, wasn't it? And that's the best kind of praise you can give them. It just felt like we were watching a few years after Return of the Jedi and what Luke's kind of up to now. He's got those droids building him. He's school. He's doing what he thinks is the right thing, which is to rebuild the Jedi Order. But like we talked about, there's those nuggets in there that we know ultimately at some point there comes a big failure for him. And it's almost like that could be a turning point where Grogu chooses to go another way, and that's part of what makes him less confident in himself, or to start to self-doubt himself in some way. Who knows? There's lots of ways that they could bring it in, but definitely interested to find out more about Luke in this period and where he goes until we do get to see him when he's an old man, an old grumpy old man.
Shocky, man. Luke, Grogu, all the above, I guess mostly Luke. We talked Grogu, but you can say whatever you want.
No, I think the Luke story is interesting. It was interesting. Like, so I didn't expect it to be where he was very similar to like rebuilt, like just kind of this doing the same thing over again what the Jedi Order did. You know, and seeing that, like, you know, that the Jedi Order failed in the path that they went down, and I guess, I mean, because we know the ending, it makes sense for him to say, "Hey, I'm going to start the Jedi Order up." And what's interesting is that Ahsoka doesn't warn him, because with Ahsoka's character, she is the perfect example of why the Jedi Order fails in their faith and their values and so forth, that, you know, and she walks away from it. And it's interesting that she meets with him, and, you know, it's I don't know, it would be really interesting to see. And I there's doubts of me saying that there's going to be a sole Luke Skywalker show, but it'd be really interesting to see that pathway he takes, because it's almost like it's repeating history all over again. And it almost, it takes us to The Last Jedi, where we see Luke bitter, you know, and it's like, I did everything I was supposed to, and it failed, you know. And
again, it will bring up some questions like, you know, like, why didn't the Force Ghosts warn him? You know, why didn't Yoda come back and say, hey, you know, just because we did it this way, maybe you shouldn't,
Ben,
you know.
tell me I screwed up, or, like, you know,
I mean,
Yoda, you know, like
it's a tricky one. It is a tricky one.
It is a very tricky story, yeah.
There's definitely people, and I know Filoni, Favreau allegedly have a lot more autonomy than some, and the book writing room is separate. But there is a group, or at least some people in Lucasfilm that are not the biggest Luke Skywalker fans, evidenced by that Alphabet Squadron book as one example, where, like, all he did was pull the trigger. It was Jyn Erso that destroyed the Death Star. Anyways, what do you think about the CGI? You mentioned the expenses and stuff, Mike. Is that pretty much why you don't think it's going to be a live action Luke show?
Yeah.
Do you think they just don't want to recast it? I mean, I don't know. I'm okay with the recast idea.
I think if you were going to recast, you should have done it
Mando for this. Yes. What do you think?
I think if there were plans for.
Go ahead.
I think the future is so. I think if you were going to do a sole Luke Skywalker show, you would have recasted back in Mando season 2 and introduced that character then, and said, "All right, here's the new Luke Skywalker, guys. Looks very similar, you know, to Mark Hamill at a young age." But yeah, just the amount of money to do a sole show on Luke Skywalker, you're getting
Academy
into
show.
It's probably better to have him just turn up for the odd episode like we saw here.
I think,
or the odd scene.
I think that's exactly what we're going to see.
The money and
pieces here and there. We get, you know, Luke Skywalker showing up here, Luke Skywalker showing up. I mean, in all honesty, he's probably we're probably going to see Luke appear in Ahsoka now. You know, if you think about it, because now that there's that connection, then we'll probably see a piece there. Is there a possibility, you know, Mando season 4, season 5, Grogu has to go back and maybe get Luke's help for something? There you go there. There's so many character interactions you could do with that.
Luke Skywalker's the new Nick Fury.
In all honesty, yeah. And you save yourself from having to spend a ton of money. Because in the past, let's think about it, the past 2 episodes, the amount of money for the production has gone vastly up. Like the CGI for the Naboo starfighter scene is up there, and then the CGI for
the ring world as well. You know,
the ring world,
so well done.
Yeah.
So they took a lot of their budget for these last 2 episodes, which is understandable,
and getting that budget up because of guest stars like fucking Ahsoka being in it again, you know?
Yeah.
What would you think having her back for this episode? Just gratuitous Filoni stuff, or served a good purpose?
It's never gratuitous to Filoni.
That wasn't me being mean. I was just trying to be funny in the way I proposed the question. I'm fine with her being there, Cam. Calm down.
I mean, it was without her there, you could have still done it, but you would have missed so much.
Oh yeah.
Inner workings of what's going on. It just wouldn't have had the subtlety that it did with her being there, and just fans that know the story without them explaining anything, just understanding how all that fits together was one of the coolest aspects.
Yeah, this is definitely like meant to, so we understand the Ahsoka story. Like with Filoni, it's never just for shits and giggles, right? He always has a method to the madness with
I don't know.
everything.
I'd say those mods are for shits and giggles, but whatever.
That's not all.
That's a
different
design choice. But,
yeah. But what could we possibly, like, when she leaves, right? There's no starship or anything. Could it be that she knows the way through the world between worlds and how to travel through there? And kind of Luke says, "Am I going to see you?" I'm preparing you for it.
She could have. I know. Well, that's the thing that worries me as well. But she could easily have had a ship anywhere else.
Elsewhere.
I mean, how did Luke get there?
She could.
Luke's ship must be there.
The
X-wing,
good old Red 5, X-wing.
Yeah, I think Cam's on to Mike's on to something. The idea of her almost being like, am I going to see you again of sorts? Yeah. You know, who knows?
I'm telling you,
she's so fucking scary.
It's one of those things where she has a uniqueness to this story, and it's not a normal. This is not a normal character. This is, Gandalf the Gray. It's a Gandalf the White, type deal.
Yeah.
So it would not shock me when he said
that was trained by Luke's dad. He must, and even though she calls him Master Luke because she's not a Jedi anymore, she refers to he's a Jedi, he's the Master, which he is, because at the end of the day, he still defeated the Sith ultimately, along with obviously his dad's help, but by bringing his dad back. But in terms of, she's got the wisdom though, of experience and all this stuff, and being in the shit and making bad choices. And ultimately she's flying a very solo path on her own. Just a quick question for you: could the two of them get together, Ahsoka and Luke?
I saw your article bring that up. I don't think so. Yeah, I don't know.
I saw some people online like, that's disgusting, and I'm like, no, it's really not. There was 10 years difference between Han and Leia, 17 years between them.
I could see
and Togruta, Luke in the 20s for about 50
he's of drinking age.
So,
I can see Ahsoka
and grown-ass adult.
And she's an adult. She's
Ahsoka
a way
and
adult.
Ezra.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can see
somebody
Ahsoka
that she
and
knew
Ezra.
as a kid. So when you know somebody as a kid, that makes it a bit.
And Ezra's path is very similar to hers, where she doesn't Ezra never becomes the Jedi truly, and he sacrifices himself for and so I could see that pathway, and that's what leads Ahsoka so hell-bent on finding Ezra and stuff. But Luke, no.
Do you think we could ever get an Ezra versus Luke fight at some point?
Why?
Ooh, that would be good.
Why? Because Ezra's been spending
training.
That's why he's with Thrawn.
No, wait a minute. Ezra's been with Thrawn for how many years?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. He's been with Thrawn.
He already had tendencies to turn to the dark side anyway. Ezra could come back as a villain. I mean, I'm not saying he will. I'm not saying he will. I'm saying he could. Theoretically.
God, do you want another redemption story, Cam? Come on.
But it doesn't have to be a redemption story
ideas.
because Ezra's not there in the Last Jedi timeline, of
Luke,
as far as we know. So Luke could have killed him.
It's possible. It's possible. We're not allowed to have bad guys, though, Cam. You know that. They all got to be tragic and redeemed at the end.
Gideon's a bad guy.
Joking around. True. Cad Bane is who I kind of want to get to now with the last segment of our show. LRM got to chit chat and kind of reveal that we felt very, very confident Cad Bane would show up about 5-6 months ago. We broke that news. What a fucking entrance! Like, I'm not gonna lie. When we go back to Cobb and Mando on Tatooine, I'm like, oh shit, it's about to happen. And while I personally don't have much attachment to the Cad Bane character, this was like the first big reveal and call that I've been a part of with this company. The sites had others, but I was a part of it, and seeing it come to fruition is kind of cool, because I can remember the fans' reactions when we were announcing the news, and then seeing the fans' reactions here, and just kind of seeing that pay off. It was really, really cool. And then the fucking scene was badass. Everything from the music to the pacing to the cut, even the slight bit of Star Wars humor with the deputy. I almost thought they would cut the tension completely with the humor based on the first episode with the mayor's guy, but they didn't. Everything was great. Cad looks amazing. The Duros looks great in real life. First one we've seen since I don't even think that was one in a New Hope. So I don't know if we've ever seen a Duros in live action. Not up close either. So
Yeah.
I love the eyes, the way that there's actual depth to the eyes, teeth, and the way the light comes back. The teeth looked good. He was a bit paler of a blue than I thought. He looks more like the paler Thrawn blue from the cartoon versus the blue you see in like old EU work. I thought he'd be a couple shades darker in between what he is here and the cartoons, the CGI cartoons. So I'm wondering what they'll do with Thrawn, because they made him very, very light in Rebels compared to what most art had been of him. So what if they go opposite and make him more dark? But Cad Bane looked good. The gunslinging stuff was good. All of it. The voice. It was great. Now, Cam, I went to Mike, or no, you did the Luke stuff first. So Mike,
yeah,
you go ahead, man. Cad Bane, and have at it.
Yeah, I mean, from watching Clone Wars and seeing him in there to watching the Bad Batch and seeing him reappear, it's pretty awesome to see him in live action. It really added something to the show, especially for the bounty hunter lovers. You know, because I think with Boba Fett, everybody was expecting something, you know, of a bounty hunter type storyline, and hasn't been to that point yet. But to see at least Cad Bane come back and in his ways, like, I mean, that was pure, just the entrance in the way that it was pure Western, 100% classic style, perfect storytelling. You know, I think every timing wise, all of it was perfect.
Yep.
Wasn't too long, wasn't too short. Lines were perfectly added at the right time.
And you know, I'll bitch about shit you can cut out. It was fine.
And what I loved about it, so just like Boba Fett, Cad Bane has a lot of different contraptions to, you know, he has little booster packs on his boots so he can, you know, not necessarily fly, but, you know, jump around.
He can Star-Lord it.
Exactly. Star-Lord. He's got, you know, little other contraptions there, and they didn't use any of that. It was straight gunslinger. My gun's faster than yours, and that's what I loved about it. We didn't get this flying in type deal. The walk in, that scene is iconic, 100%. You know, with the haze from the heat from the suns and stuff, and just walking in, and you knew even with the first silhouette of it, you know, for a Star Wars fan that's, you know, known Cad Bane, that was Cad Bane.
Oh yeah, and the jacket, the hat, you could just see it.
and just like the way that Filoni directs it and how he has Cobb Vanth know that this is bad news. Like, you know, instead of just saying like, who's this guy or whatever, like he turns and you see this guy walking up and get everybody inside. It's like, you know, this is bad news coming. And it was perfect. That just the best Star Wars scene in a long time.
Since Luke destroyed some Dark Troopers.
Well, I would say since Vader and Rogue One. Like, you know,
really?
Luke destroying Dark Troopers was cool and stuff, and, you know, but
they're both cool action scenes, but neither of them have the cinematic quality of what is going on here.
Yeah. I'll say that this was definitely very, very cinematic, but I guess because of how, and this is not because of I am against Grumpy Luke. I was actually okay with Grumpy Luke. Just wish it had been explained better. But because Luke was done wrong in the ST by not getting proper storytelling for either direction, grumpy or not, seeing him come back and getting to be in the form we all missed out on was good.
That was the highlight for you as opposed to Cad Bane kind of thing.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
And that's fine because, like I said, I don't have the Clone Wars
I get you,
connections.
Yeah,
I think
100%.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you in some sense because when I look back at the episode, the things that excited me the most were all the Luke, Ahsoka, Grogu stuff, right? But just for the sheer perfection as a one-off scene, it's just that speaks to me as a fan. And I think mate, you're kind of a bit of a Western fan. I'm a bit of a Western fan at times. I mean, that's straight. The good, but it depends on the Western. Like, I mean, that's Sergio Leone. Right. That's what I saw there. It's just pure Sergio Leone. Good, the bad, and the ugly. Where it's just character, shot for shot.
The quick shot in the eyes and stuff.
And just the stillness of what's going to happen. It's going to come. Who's going to go first? And of course, the deputy starts going, and what's going to happen here. And it almost distracts Cobb Vanth slightly because he's like, do I protect my deputy or, go for the shot here? It's that kind of deal as well. And all of this is happening just for the looks. Because at the end of the day, Cad Bane doesn't go there with the express purpose of killing Cobb Vanth. He's there to try and stop
send
him,
a message,
staying in the fight and send a message. So he doesn't have to kill him for any reason. But, he's got to take it, that deputy, because he knows as well that this guy's rash and there's only one way to deal with him, and that's take him out, you know what I mean? So he shoots Cobb in the arm first, disables him, blasts away the other guy, and just basically turns around and walks away again. And that is just, it is literally something straight out of a Sergio Leone movie, and that, to me, was perfection as a scene.
He only hit Cobb in the arm? I thought he killed him.
He did not kill him.
Oh, okay.
And I'll tell you why he didn't kill him, because they're all asking, quick, get some med packs and all that sort of stuff afterwards. There's no way Cobb Vanth's dead. Yeah, and he needs to go back. He needs to go back and tell Boba what's happening and get his people together. I mean, you saw the Weequay looking as if, shit, we're in a fight now. You know, they're not going to shit themselves. They're going to join Boba Fett. Yeah. But I don't know whether we'll get that big battle next week, though, or whether
I don't think
they'll set it up and finish it off in Mando or something. I just don't know.
Now that's a real potential there, Cam, with the idea of what we were talking about, the way that this show's put together. So you kind of have a big chunk of Fett, little Mando, and maybe this final episode is Fett. Maybe episode 1 of Mando is kind of, again, a bleed together, and then go into Mando, which would make...
Sorry, on you go.
I was going to say, which would make this kind of last few episodes chunk feel more at home if they do something. Do you think that's what will happen? Well, the final battle will happen in Mando.
If we go back to your book analogy again, you would always want to finish a book with a dramatic event, right? So you might have multiple chapters, but you don't want to end a book with just, and that's the end. And you're like, oh, what happens next? And then you read the next book. You always finish on a sort of climax, and then the next book will be the kind of after effects of that climax as you go on. And that's what makes me think there has to be some sort of climax next week. What it is, but I don't necessarily think it'll be, Cad Bane versus Boba Fett. Boba Fett kills Cad Bane. I think this will roll on a lot longer than what we're seeing. But something has to happen next week. I just have no idea what it is, necessarily.
Yeah, a good Star Wars analogy for those books and how you set up room to go after, but still have a culminating event. A New Hope, you blow up the Death Star, which is an immediate threat to the rebellion, but there's still the active rebellion and a hurt empires. So you get to Empire Strikes Back. They rescue Luke, but Han's gone now, so you still have the climatic battle and a result.
And you realize how against it they are in the Empire as well, because they're completely outmatched by the Empire. So you wonder, how can they ever win this battle? And of course, then We get the
Many
true
Bottons will
climax,
have to
climax
die
of
for
Return
it.
of the Jedi when we have the big battle, etc.
When are we going to see a Botton in live action? Mike,
what?
When's that coming? Have they even done Bottons in Clone Wars or Rebels? Have we seen a canon Botton? I don't know. I don't think so.
They were in a comic, but whether that's canon,
I mean, animated or TV.
Certainly not live action. I mean, no way. Has there been any Bottons in?
I can't remember.
I'm looking up.
I still think there isn't
Wikipedia
actually
right
a
now.
species, and it's just a guy called Manny Bothan. Manny Bothan was just a spy.
Oh, God.
Manny Bothan died to bring us this information. And everybody's like, "Yo, Manny Bothan, he was a great spy. We're sorry to lose him."
Nope, they are only mentioned. Their first.
Maybe we'll see them in Andor.
Their first appearance as a characters in a book called Bloodline, and everything else is just mentioned. So, guys, what's up? Bottons were like one of the like best fucking characters in the EU because they were fucking greedy, but very, very passionate. And the ones that weren't greedy for like money and power became greedy to take down the Bottons with money and power. And they were huge. I mean, many of them died to get us the Death Star plans. What do you think, Mike? What's episode 7 gonna? Episode 7. What's episode 7 of Book of Boba Fett gonna be like, man? Chapter 7. Sure.
I think staying on the path of hero's journey and stuff. I think Boba loses. I think Boba is going to lose this battle with the Pikes, lose his territory, and that's going to cause either him and Din Djarin to leave, or to go to Mandalore and build up his army that way. I think that I think that we're seeing kind of the build up for the rule of Mandalore and the rule of the army with the Darksaber, Din Djarin, Boba, Bo-Katan, was it Paz Vizsla? So it doesn't make any sense for this story to end on a good note, right? If it's a good note, then all right, see ya, Boba Fett. We're done here.
Yeah, but
and
Boba
that's
could
it.
show up, and he could still be like in charge of that territory. Mando could still visit him, but there could still be a lot of shit to deal with afterwards. But he's still in control of the territory.
I don't know. It doesn't. If I got to put my money on it, in the way Star Wars is, this is kind of Empire Strikes Back, where I think the bad guys are going to win this one. I think the Pikes or whoever's behind the whether it's Crimson Dawn or whatever, that's helping the Pikes, or paying Cad Bane or whatever, they're gonna win. It's
my only issue with that, Mike, is something that you even pointed out in the first episode. So all it takes is now a few guys with Gungan shields to take down Boba Fett, who we saw do badassery not that much but beforehand. He's lost a lot. He gets his ass handed to him in meetings. Like he's constantly he's the butt of many jokes, and he has lots of really good badass moments throughout the series. But man, I'd be kind of disheartened if he takes a romping next episode, because it's like, well, fuck.
I mean, as much of a badass Cad Bane is, we always compare them to Boba Fett and wonder who's better between them. And the only time we ever saw them interact, Boba was too young, to be a serious threat to Bane. But who became the most famous kind of bounty hunter in the galaxy? The one that Jabba employed? It wasn't Cad Bane, was it? So, Boba Fett must have the Cad Bane's maybe stayed away from Boba all these years. Who knows? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I think there is a bit of personal angst between them. I don't think Cad's going to think, well, I'll easily beat Boba Fett. He's going to be like, I just don't think that's as easy a battle for him to win. I don't know. We'll see. Plus, he's got Chrysanthemum as well, who's no slouch. And you know, there is that other rumoured character that we said was going to show up, which we've not seen yet, and I kind of wonder, you know, did we get that
Bossk.
one wrong, which is Bossk? Where's, you know, is Bossk going to show up next week? The last episode seems a strange place for someone to show up, but...
What do you got, Mike? What do you think?
My source could definitely have been wrong on this one, but we've seen was it Transdoshans, you know, in this series, and could have easily, by seeing them, mistaken it for Bossk, and so be it. And if I'm wrong with that stuff. But so we have Cad Bane as being the villain for Boba and Fennec. It makes sense to make Bossk the villain for Black Krrsantan, because Black Krrsantan hates Transdoshans for what they've done to Wookiees. And so
and he was enslaved.
I think
by
we've
them
seen the
as well,
last bounty hunter. Yeah, and the way that, so you got to remember when I got these, you know, this information, this was back when the show was first filming, and then remember there was the second part of it filming when it was, you know, what we thought was Mando season 3,
Right?
and really it was these episodes of Book of Boba Fett. So it could easily have been that this is the last episode part of it, and you know, this is, you know, leading into the next chapter of Book of Boba Fett or whatever. It could also be that just scrapped it. Maybe, you know, they, you know, used it and didn't like it.
And it's real possible, like you said, that potentially even the scene, like the dinner table scene with that one Trandoshan, you're like, wow, that's got to be Bossk, and he did have the big part in the Bounty Hunter Bounty Hunter Wars comic, which we know that you don't always tie things directly, but comics will often latch on to TV or movies for promotion and vice versa. So who knows? But
I don't know. Our guy's never been kind of wrong before either, and I think we know the difference of who Bossk is. But things do get caught. That's why no insider is ever 100% correct, because sometimes they make decisions and they change stuff, and you know, you don't always find it out until it actually comes out. And you know, because this is obviously done at a high level. However, there is a possibility it could still show up, and I think it's probably worth. We can talk about it more now, but we always knew, because there was a couple of fans who thought that, you know, if Bane showed up, it might be as an ally to Boba Fett, and I was thinking, I don't know where you're getting that from. The two of them have never liked each other, but we knew he was going to be an antagonist. We didn't put that in our reveal, but we knew that he would be a bad guy, you know, against Boba Fett, but we didn't know why, where. You know, we didn't even know if he would show up in this episode. It was just all guesswork. We just knew that he was going to be in it and that he would be an antagonist for Boba Fett. So let's wait and see, I guess. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, any alibis? Anything else you guys want to say about?
We haven't given a grade.
Chapter 6. Yeah, great grades. So A pluses across the board, I'm guessing. Cam.
I gave it an A++++++++.
Okay, Cam gives it an A-. Got it. Shocky A+.
A+.
You know what? I'm going to be an asshole and say A-. No, I'm joking. It was an A+ show on exactly what it is, not holding any of the questions and things against it. Like Cam said that's completely fair. So yeah. With that said, I'll go ahead and do all the closeout stuff, guys. LRMonline.com is the website. Go there for all the great news and opinion pieces, trailers, leaks, interviews, podcasts, all of it right there for you guys. Genreverse.com as well for the Genreverse Podcast Network. We have been working really hard on getting all that built for you guys. A lot of weird tweets and stuff going out, podcasts from like years ago, all of a sudden getting done, but it's just proof that we're working on it. We got the Genreverse Podcast Network wherever you get your wherever you get your podcasts from, Google, Spotify, Apple, all of that. Please leave some reviews, thumbs up, stars, whatever you can do. Let us know what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong, and how to make it better. And of course, the YouTube channel, hit the red subscribe button, help the Genreverse Podcast Network grow on YouTube to the size of the LRM Online YouTube channel, which you should also be subscribed to for all of the amazing interviews that Gig, Nancy, and Manny and others get up there. Jonesy recently did one as well. So yeah, Cam, what do you want to say to the good folks at home?
You can hit me up on Twitter on @LRM_Cam for anything, suggestions, and what we do in some of these shows that obviously I'm involved in or Kel's involved in. What you'd like to see more or less of in the site that we cover as written pieces as well. Absolutely, let us know. If there's something we're doing you don't like, we want to know about it. And equally, if there's things that we do you do like, then we want to do more of that where possible as well. Mike?
All right.
Yeah, you can find me at LRM_Shocky on Twitter, and just keep coming to the site and keep giving us good reviews. Hopefully, if it's a bad review, okay, just not too many of them. And yeah,
just
back at it. Hopefully,
always the words on how to make it better. That's all.
Right there, we go.
I ask. So, all right, guys. I'm at that Kyle Malone, and my brain is done. So may the force be with you.